Peter Schrager, NFL Network. Good Morning Football. Emmy Award-winning show. Good Morning Football. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern. Help me understand this, Peter. Why am I can't get past the Buffalo game. If you didn't have a concussion, why'd you fire the neurologist?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. And we're going through it. And it's like they changed the protocol overnight. And you saw the following week, Bridgewater goes down in the end zone against the Jets, and immediately he's removed. And the same people that were crying bloody hell about how is Tua allowed to come back to the game were outraged that Bridgewater was forced to leave the game. So there is this ongoing dialogue about the protocol and the injuries. And then at the end of the day, like, it seems like the fans also want to watch football at the highest quality. So it's this thin line of like, you're balancing here. The reporters, they're getting Tua back. He's playing against the Steelers. You got Flores on the other sideline. Stephen Ross is back in the house. Got the 50th anniversary of the 72 Dolphins. And it's like, Tua's back in Buffalo feels like 6 months ago, Dan. And I think it's just how the world turns. It's like, we're over that. Let's get on to the next topic. We've got the NFL moves on page by page, but of course there's a million questions that have to be answered. And there's a million things that we still want to know. But as an NFL audience, I don't know if anyone really wants to linger on Tua's back injury from week 3.
No, but I didn't know we closed up shop on it, and that back injury is not going to be something that is, staying there the rest of his career, or anything like that. Just like if I had a back injury and it made me almost stumble, fall down twice, and I have to be helped up by my teammates, I'd probably get it checked out and probably figure there might be something a little bit more to it. I'm sure I'm just a voice in the wilderness here. All right, sell us on tonight's game. It's Arizona. It's New Orleans. Go.
Ugh, no, I'm kidding. Here we go. Kyle Brandt on our show, Good Morning Football, always uses like wrestling references. This is the loser leaves town game. If the Saints lose and they're 2-5, like, it's over. And if the Cardinals are 2-5, it's not only it's over. Then you start thinking like, all right, is Kingsbury the guy for this job? Is there going to be questions up top? Arizona has lost 8 straight games at home. It's the longest streak. They haven't won since October 24th of last year in their building. And they only have 3 points in the first quarter through 5 games this season. These are horrific stats that show you, A, they don't come ready to play, and B, that they've got no home field advantage whatsoever. They walk into that building and it's dead. They're home tonight. They're against a very injured Saints team, and DeAndre Hopkins is back. My sell for this would be if Kyler's got any juice, if Kingsbury's got any juice, if there is anything left in that tank between this duo and this team, let it be tonight, and let us see them come back with DeAndre Hopkins and say, all right, we got our guy back and we can roll. I don't have a ton of confidence, though, that that's going to happen.
Do you believe Cliff Kingsbury will be the head coach of this team?
I don't know.
Next year.
He signed an extension, but we don't know what the numbers are. And we also don't know like what the background of that extension, because it also was signed in tandem with Steve Keim, the GM, and they both were extended at once. And it was like, all right, you guys I can't. I'll say right now, I don't know. And I think I'm as plugged in with Cliff and those guys as anybody. I don't speak to the owner, Bidwill on a daily basis, but I will say this. I could see a future where Cliff is not the Cardinals coach if this season goes off the rails.
Give me the number one story so far this season on the field.
On the field, the number one story has been the resurgence of the New York City football teams that play in New Jersey. I think the Jets and Giants.
How threatening are they?
No, I'm not booking any parades down Broadway yet. To get to Halloween, and both these teams are relevant is such a big deal for the NFL. The NFL hasn't had a football team in New York City, the Giants or the Jets, make the playoffs since the Odell year, where they had the boat party and that was a first round exit. This city is alive. I'm in New York City. I guess you could say I'm biased how I'm saying this is the number one story, but to have the Jets with such youth be relevant, to have the Giants on this, like what felt like a lame duck year for Daniel Jones and Saquon, have this great resurgence with a new coach. I think it's brought an extra little lifeblood to this league. And it shows that in any given year, you can have the team that turns it around. It just so happens it's 2 teams and 2 franchises that have been the punchline of the New York Post and the punchline of football world, both doing it at the same time. It's pretty cool. One is 4-2, the other's 5-1, and no one had either one of those teams above 500 going into the season.
Peter Schrager, host of NFL Network's Emmy Award-winning show, Good Morning Football, also has a podcast, The Season with Peter Schrager. Podcast launched last week, available wherever you listen to podcasts. You had the Jets head coach, Robert Sala, and Paul Rudd, big Chiefs fan, on there. Did Robert Sala talk about taking receipts and
Yeah.
Okay, but didn't the Jets earn that criticism? Like how does he?
Of course.
How does he say
he was way over his skis? You kidding? He was way over his skis, and I positioned it that way. What are you? You're 4-14, taking receipts of what? And he says openly. I mean, I look. There's a million podcasts. There are 1,000. I'm not telling you to listen to all of them. Mine's pretty good right now. I feel pretty good. Sala was awesome. Was candid, and he says, basically, I said it. And I immediately regretted it. Like I didn't. He felt it out of his mouth and was like, "Wait."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I wish it didn't go that way, and I wish we were done talking about that." And yet, he thinks the players might have listened and like felt a little bit of that. And I don't. That's all intangible stuff. That like, hey, if he believes in us, maybe we. The facts are what they are. They're 3-0 on the road. They've beaten the Browns in their building, the Steelers in their building. They just went into Lambeau and had a 21-year-old Sauce Gardner who doesn't know any better wearing a cheese head around Lambeau. Like. Sala said the receipts line. It was parodied widely here in New York City, and I think he himself knows it was a regrettable comment. And yet, in a weirdest of ways, it's going to come back looking like the Jim Fossil guarantee from so many years ago, or Mark Messier in Game 6. Like they've turned it around ever since.
Yeah. The Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, Patriots drama. Who's the offensive coordinator? Who's the quarterback? Do we have a real quarterback controversy? What do you think?
Maybe. Monday they play, and there has not been an announcement on who's going to go. And I think Mac is close to being healthy. I'll tell you this. If there was a big gap between Mac and the other option at quarterback, whether it was Hoyer or Zappi when he got injured, it's much smaller now. No one is talking to Belichick in a way that they can reveal the true facts about what it is. I'll just say this from sources around the team and sources within that building. There's a lot of love for Zappi as well as Mac. Mac, I would imagine, is going to get an opportunity to get that gig back, but I would think the leash is a lot shorter after what Zappi has done. Zappi has come in and he has played against two inferior teams, the Lions and the Browns, so you have to keep that in mind. But he has not made mistakes, and he has righted the ship after it looked like it was sinking in Mac's last game. So all facts are out there that Bailey Zappi has played objectively better than Mac Jones was playing. The question is, long-term, is this Mac's job? I think he gets an opportunity to bounce back, and we'll see how fired up he is to regain that status as the unquestioned guy in New England.
I was wondering, as the Browns waited for Deshaun Watson, if you can just sort of tread water here, maybe be a game over 500, just something that you know that when he comes back, you're a better team. And you would think with the talent that they have there in Cleveland, Peter, that wouldn't be asking that much to just be an average team with that, offense and defense here. I mean, you lost to the Falcons, they've lost to the Jets, they're 2-4, and then Deshaun Watson has to wait a couple more weeks to come back. But what went wrong in Cleveland?
It's off the rails right now, and two terrible losses at home to the Jets and the Chargers. And then last week, you just don't even show up for this Patriots game, and it feels like, okay, it's a lost season. And that was at a point where I think coming into this year, it was like, if they can just hang in there, they've got a great running game and great players on defense, but it looks completely lost. The defense is atrocious, and Joe Woods, the defensive coordinator, is a respected guy in this league. So there's a lot of questions. And Brissett, his whole thing was leader, doesn't make mistakes, and he's been making a lot of mistakes, bad ones. At first, I was thinking when they were 2-1, it was like, hey, the Browns, they could find a way to get this thing going, and maybe they don't have to rush Deshaun Watson onto the field in week 13. They can let him just start next season. That's not the case. He's there now. He's starting to practice with that team. And I think that the second he's available to go, he will be inserted immediately into the lineup. And hopefully this thing is not completely off the rails where the season is a complete loss and a complete wash, because right now they're one of the least disciplined and I would say the worst defense in the league from what we've seen the last few weeks.
At what point, if you're the Broncos, do you say we can't afford to continue to let Nathaniel Hackett learn on the job? You're supposed to learn before you get the job, and the learning curve here is not good. How much patience? With this ownership,
I don't know.
I
don't know the new owners. And George Payton, they had a lot of guys. He's a GM. They had a lot of guys come through and interview for that job. And he and Hackett, hit it off. And, O'Connell went in there and they had all these different other offensive minds. And it was like Hackett's the guy. And Roger spoke the world of him. And all the Packers folks loved him. And of course, he was with Bortles and Jacksonville, took him to the AFC Championship game as a quarterback. And then you get here and it's first year coach, new market, new quarterback, new first year defensive coordinator. Defense actually been good. A lot of new faces ever, new owner. And this new owners didn't hire him. They inherited him. And I get nervous because, you get a couple, then you get a few more, and then it's like sharks are in the water. And if you do that over the course of the next 3 months, these new owners, they're made of money. They've got billions and billions of dollars, Walmart money and self-made money, post Walmart stuff. And then it's like, well, I didn't pick this guy and the money's not an issue. Pay him out and let's start a new one. That's a real possibility always with new owners. And the way it's going, it's been unfortunate, but you got to understand, this is the test when you're at your lowest and you've got Russ playing like this and he might be injured. How do you change things? How do you figure it out? The Jets are coming in this week. They're the hottest team as far as like narrative goes. A win with either Russ or Brett Rippon or whoever would go a long way in stopping the bleeding, especially in the front of that home crowd. If you lose that game in front of that home crowd, well, then when I say sharks are in the water, it's going to get real ugly real fast.
So your guests have included Robert Sala and Paul Rudd. Who else is on the wish list there for your podcast?
You know what? I want to do like coaches that don't talk during the season. I want to get them to be candid. Sala was. I want to get like funny but good you're the best with the celebrities. When you have Sandler and I'm like, I'll run to a TV or whatever, and you've got all those guys. Rudd is that dude. But I also want to get like young coaches that the teams are usually a little protective of. I want to get like young offensive coordinators, young defensive coordinators, young executives. And my pitch to them is there's a great platform to not talk about this week's game and injuries, but to introduce themselves to the audience. And so far we've got a pretty good captive audience that I'm getting a lot of the viewers from Good Morning Football and Fox that I'm on watching, and hopefully some of the listeners to your show can listen to this podcast just by popping it on. It's good. Go for a workout, listen, cooking, whatever it is, have it in the background. But let's get to know new people that we don't necessarily know all their names yet.
Thank you, Peter. Good to talk to you. Good luck with the podcast.
Love you, man. Thank you.
That's Peter Schrager, NFL Network, Good Morning Football, friend of the show, and his podcast this season with Peter Schrager.